Good morning, not morning where my guest is. My guest today, and honestly, I'm not making this up. I said someday I want to get Kath Pay on the podcast. If I can sustain it and make it good enough to invite Kath Pay, then I'll know that I've kind of hit a benchmark. Yay. Welcome, Kath Pay.
Well, thank you very, very much for having me on.
I'm going to break the tradition, which is usually tell everybody about yourself because I get to talk about you instead. Kath is the founder and CEO of Holistic Email, which has got to be one of the best known email marketing agencies out there. Also, international best-selling author. Title right here. Come on, camera. Yes, Holistic Email Marketing. And a heck of a book. I've got bookmarks in there for us to talk about, so watch out. Ooh. How long's the book been out now?
It's been out for 2 years. It's been out long enough that I'm talking about doing a second edition.
A second edition. Okay. I think that's actually a good idea. Yes.
Yeah, just been released.
Wait, you don't. So as an author,
Yes.
You go, oh, I left that on the cutting room floor, or these things have changed, or both.
Change. I tell you what, the difference between then and now is there's so many new things that have happened.
Name two or three.
Oh, okay. Oh, you put me on the spot, haven't you? So, AI using copywriting and GPT and all of that, right? So I'm sure you've been speaking to lots of people about that. But that has if the right person embraces it, it has the ability to, I'm not going to say revolutionize or anything like that, but certainly assist them a lot. But it's about, again, everything that we're doing, try to be strategic and trying to use it wisely and make sure that you understand its weaknesses as well as its strength, right? So that's one. But then there's MPP has come out since the book was launched as well. Yeah.
Yep. We can talk about that one a bit.
Oh yes, you're a little bit in the know about that one.
But we don't want to do inside baseball. Kath's reference there is Apple's change in terms of how they handle email, the measurement of email opens in terms of pixels and images, which threw a big old monkey wrench in measures that have been around for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's big.
So yeah, I mean, there's lots of like little introductions or not so much even introductions, but Bimi's now being taken quite seriously.
Yeah.
Right? It's picking up speed and things like this. So all of these things need to be addressed, need to be integrated within the book. And, and like I said, not only are the consumers have changed, but the marketers are changing as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're picking up on, okay, so more marketers are now doing this, less are doing that. And, I think that also needs to be changed because then you can start to see that trajectory or the way that it's going.
Yeah, just changes in practices, techniques, things that work, things that don't work. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm curious because, I mean, in addition to juggling, running Holistic, without necessarily be sitting in the office with everybody at Holistic, speaking, writing, and a few other things. How do you carve out the time to work on let's say a book revision?
Again, welcome to my life. And it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Like at the moment, I'm actually doing an updated version of a best practice guide for a different entity as well. And I found last year when I did the book, I was doing both of them simultaneously, and that was really difficult. So this time I'm at least doing one, finishing that project and then starting on the other, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I've learned, I found out I'm not actually Wonder Woman or the Marvel one, but the one that can create time.
Yeah. Do you write at set times, revise at set times, go when the inspiration strikes? Like what's the process feel like?
Yeah. So the way that I work, I'm very sporadic in so many ways. And I think that's why I really, really love to try and get people into some sort of systems and stuff, because I'm not that way inclined. I'm very good at organizing them. But when it comes to me naturally doing things, I don't know. I say, if I were to say, okay, writing for 2 hours,
Yeah.
won't happen. It just won't happen. However, when I'm wandering around and I'm doing the laundry or something, I'll just go, oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
And find myself there and I'll be stuck for 2 hours or something.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So inspiration strikes. Do you carry a notebook and a pen around?
No, I just do lots of WhatsApp voice messages to myself. I've got 2 phones,
Yeah.
my Antique one and my British one, so they're just swapping.
I like that. Actually, probably more likely to capture context, right? Because you can
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. So I literally can say I talk to myself. Mhm.
It's okay. It's okay. My wife says she talks to the produce, and I've seen her do it. So, um, oh, you're a nice tomato. Okay, interesting. Because professional writers will say, nope, you got to
Yep.
sit down and write and bang it out. And I'm not saying you're not a professional, but you have other professions as well. And I get that, but that's a tough fit in this fractured time.
Yes. Now, editing is different because they're 2 different processes.
Hmm.
Creative.
Yeah.
And I'm quite forced to creative.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I am best to go with when it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get all excited, and then that's when all of my, that anecdote or that story or that case study, everything will come then, right?
Yeah.
Editing is different. I can sit down and I can say, okay, I've got to edit.
Yeah.
You know, cutting, improving, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, replace that case study with another one. I can do that, and so I'm pretty good at that. But I also have an editor as well, of course.
Right.
Which really, really helps, because that's when I'll thrash through and say, oh, let's try and reduce this. Or, so am I repeating myself a couple more times than I should be?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or,
And I assume you write at the keyboard. Is that accurate?
you assume what? Sorry?
You write with a keyboard, not a pen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the same way. I mean, I know there were people who used to write with pens. I don't understand how they did it, but oh God.
I will start things 3 times. Often what I'll do is I just points down because they're in my mind and I down,
Yeah.
right? Then I start to work with them, and then I'll flip everything around. I mean, I love it. You just remove that paragraph, stick it up there and flip them around and then do this and oh, that one fits there. How can you do that with pen and paper? I mean, that would just be this total scribbled mess, but
Oh,
not working with, just Word or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is here's a little conversational pivot point for us. One of the many concerns I've got about the face and name we finally put on AI. Oh, ChatGPT. Is that writing isn't just about writing, it's about thinking.
Yes.
And like, oh, Timmy's going to tell ChatGPT to write his essay. Well, Timmy needs a whack in the back of the head, and he's not going to think. But interestingly enough, I actually put this. I can't remember what it came up with, but I went to ChatGPT the other day and I said, "Hey, could you write an essay assignment for a high schooler that couldn't be answered by you?" And I was hoping it would blow steam and expire or something like that, because that fundamental point, which you talk about in your own writing process, like you don't know what you're going to say, right? Boom, 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 get it down. Oh, well, that connects with this. Move the paragraph up here. Start putting some structure to it. All of those things are not going to come popping out of a machine based on a 2-line prompt.
No, no, no. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about getting the prompts right. And it's about developing and getting in deeper and deeper and getting that guidance happening, which means that you can't be an amateur in the first place. You have to know about the topic. You have to be able to guide and input, and then of course edit as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So just by the by, I won't be writing the revision using ChatGPT.
I've assumed as much and delighted to hear it. Like I mean, even if someone said, here's $1 zillion, do it. I'm going to guess you'd go, no, right? Right. Cause
Yeah, but the funny thing is, right? I think so. I put in when it first came out, I went, okay, what is holistic email marketing? Okay. And it comes out and it came out. I actually published an article, I think, last week talking about this. And it came out with an awesome definition. Seriously. And I'm going, man, this is better than I actually have been able to explain it, right? And the reason is it's gone through all of my articles, like gazillions of articles about
sure.
marketing, compiled them all together, got a really nice, concise summary of it. But it's using my phraseology, it's using my words. So all I'm thinking about is if I use ChatGPT, they're just going to be going through all of my, because I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably would. In fact, actually, maybe I could do that. Maybe we could say articles by Kath and it just source those ones. But
Yeah.
no, and a lot of what I talk about is also contrary to a lot of the best
Yeah.
or not best practice, but practice out
Right.
out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no way that's okay for me. That's no.
It's a bit, and especially in the example you just gave, one of the many things that intrigues me about how this, how this Sputnik moment of ChatGPT is sitting with people intellectually and emotionally. It's a good bit looking in the mirror and sometimes not liking what we see, and sometimes going, "Oh, that's amazing!" Right? You just recounted something that's kind of amazing, right? Really, a lot of your own stuff synthesized and eloquently fed back to you. You liked what it had to say. But you get contrasting examples. Someone will relatively easy get an AI of some sort to spit out things that are not the best side of humankind. You go, well, the data set it was trained on, it came from somewhere.
Absolutely. And that's it. That's the whole thing too. Is that, certainly being a thought leader, right? Or being regarded as a thought leader, hence why I've
Yeah,
written a book.
yeah,
I can't be using other people's content. The whole idea of a thought leader is that you are generating and creating your own content, your own thoughts, your own angles, your own, rationalizations, everything like this, your
yeah,
own evidence.
yeah,
So, that kind of thing. But like I said, it's for me to write, to put together a little paragraph or something as an intro for a newsletter.
sure,
Awesome.
sure,
You know,
yeah, 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 yeah. Um, there is a tension there that and I don't know where it's going to go. I really don't. Um, I agree with you about the role of a thought leader. I mean, sidebar, do you get those annoying emails where people say, "Hey, we'll take care of writing content for you," and I just want to smack them like,
yeah.
no, you would have you'd have no idea what I have to say, and I don't want generic pablum from like someone that I just outsourced to put filler on a website. How annoying is that? Yet we're going to see people producing a whole heck of a lot of filler with the aid of like new algorithms, machines, and AIs and stuff. On the other hand, you look at some of the um, unexpected surprises popping out because the data sets crammed into AIs are so vast and cut across so many fields. There's an example in the book by Kissinger and Eric Schmidt about an AI synthesizing a new and effective drug, like doing honest to God science, going, this compound would probably be effective on that. And it was. And no one had ever come up, no human researchers had come up with it. It did the cross reference and scientific principles job of saying this will probably have an effect on that condition. And can't be patented, can't be copyrighted, came out of a machine at the same time, pretty useful, pretty valuable. Oh. Well, this is going to
Yeah.
get interesting, isn't it?
I think that there's a lot of interesting things going to be happening. So,
Yeah.
but then also I think it's the same with, during the elections and COVID and everything, there was that false information and everything. I
Yeah.
think have that,
That's a
you
big
know,
risk.
I'm sure you've read all the articles where people have said, oh yeah, it wrote a really good article. And then it cited some fictional sources, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Picking SHIT up as it goes along. Yeah. Um, so, I think we just, as the readers, as users, as everything, when it comes to article and information, we have to understand that not every article out there is going to be absolutely accurate. But
Right.
we're doing it for those beyond copywriting tasks, those calculations,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
does, because that's putting, well, as long as you're well trained in it, that's putting a lot of ability in a person's hands who wouldn't normally be able to necessarily do this calculation.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. And to the extent that it's a tool for the mind, Steve Jobs' famous, wheels for the mind sort of approach. Can we use it to enable ourselves to do more? Great. Is it a substitute for us doing more? Hang on a second. No, I don't think so. Right. I don't think so. I want to backtrack a second to the thought leader thing, because I'm not going to anoint myself a thought leader, but to the extent that I try to be, to the extent that you clearly are, I I think it takes an active, go ahead and think, right? Go ahead and have an opinion about something in your field, even if it's not what everybody else says.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes. Yeah. And that is scary. And you need to have confidence
Mhm,
and past history to be able to almost defy a lot of the community.
mhm.
But of course, you have to make sure that you are supporting everything, everything's evident.
Yeah, yeah, back it up.
And I've got my tight, close friends who aren't all yes people, right? Some are.
Not
And,
many of them.
and I'll say, okay, give me your thoughts, give me your
Yeah,
feedback.
yeah,
Here, pick holes in it. Because I don't want to go out there and say that this is the case or this should be, or let's have a think about doing this, or, is this past practice that we have been doing, is that now totally irrelevant because of these changes?
yeah.
Um, and so, you go and get that happening as well. And that always helps. So, I mean, I will never, ever suggest anything or propose anything without having done, get all the data, get all the evidence, having worked with my clients and everything. Because most of the stuff that I come up with is from working with clients.
I'll bet. Yeah, I'll bet.
I'll find this particular situation. I'll just go, oh, okay, well, that's impacted by this and all the rest of it.
Yeah,
And then you can start doing it that way.
yeah.
Um, 'Cause I've got quite a few. I used to be the chief trainer, well, e-consultancy, IDM, digital donut, you name it, like 10 different agencies or, publishers. Um, and a lot of my colleagues in these, training colleagues, they were just trainers. That's all they did. They
Hmm.
educated. It's great. And they were fantastic at it, right? But their content was stale. Their content, because they didn't actually own that content. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah,
that was someone else's case study. That
yeah,
was something that they read in an article, and they're very good at delivering. They're very good at training, but they didn't have that.
mm,
That real life things are changing, evolving. Every time I did any of courses, I'm updating, even though it's the same content. I'm updating the deck all the way through
yeah,
because there's new facts and figures. There's new everything.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I think thought leaders, yes, you can't just. There's a lot of people out there who call themselves thought leaders
yeah,
who I'm very aware I just called myself one. But there are a lot of people out there who call themselves thought leaders, and they're really, I'm going to sound really horrible, Yeah. Not just said it, not going to say it, but they're just regurgitators. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And that looping it back, that's one of the risks I see with the facile tool set, language tool set of AI. It's like, hey, write me an article. Cool. Copy, paste. Ooh, look, I'm a thought leader. No, you didn't do any thinking. I mean, yes, you had to engineer the prompt, but if a prompt was that difficult, it would end up being book length, and you might as well publish your prompt, right? Getting a clever thing to spit out something that looks like you worked hard uh, may seem like a cheat, but I just I don't think it's going to actually work in the long run. You know the folks, and we could talk about people that we know in common who really are like they're electrifying, they're interesting. You don't know what they're going to come up with. You think about what they said, right? They help you get smarter at your particular practice and discipline. That's a thought leader, right?
Yes. And they're not always liked either, by the way.
They're not what?
They're not always liked.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
But that's so, they're bringing in ideas and that goes against everyone's previous thinking and habits and concepts of how things should be in reality. And so it's basically calling them and saying, actually, what you're doing is wrong. And people hate being wrong. So it can be a bit of a challenge that way. But then over time, once they actually take it on board and they change and everything, then they fully understand. But sometimes it can be a bit of a
Yeah. Yeah. And it's easy to think of marketing or business or email marketing or something like that as sort of cooked, done. Everybody knows how it works. I don't think so. I think we're still reinventing this as the machinery and the culture continue
yeah.
their own evolution. Yeah.
And I have my hypothesis on that because I've
Yeah.
done a lot of things. Um, and what I think it's all about is that email marketing is really hard. Okay, it's actually hard and it's complex. So if you go around and have a look at all the agencies, so not specific email agencies, but just web or digital agents, you'll see that they will offer every other channel under the sun but email. If they do offer email, they're outsourcing it to a consultant of themselves because email is hard, right? And so because it is hard, we latch onto those silver bullets, those things that have been tried and proven and tested and over the years but without actually supporting the evidence or anything, or it could be, it did work 10, 12 years ago. That's totally relevant for the here and the now. And so I think that's why we tend to do it rather than sort of, each of us looking at our individual needs, our objectives, our programs, our audiences, our, KPIs that we're going to be, measured on, everything like this, and coming up with something that's really, really unique, still abiding by the basic principles of email marketing. And there are many, I don't think we really talk about them. No, I prefer to talk about principles rather than best practice, right?
Yeah.
Because principles are generally applicable and configurable to all types of businesses. Best practices sometimes only apply to certain.
Right.
Well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good distinction. I like that distinction. Why is it so hard?
Because of those things, right? So for one, email isn't owned by a entity. So
Right. Right.
So therefore it's a lot more flexible. There's a lot more that can go right. There's a lot more that can go wrong. There's a lot more everything happening. It also means that, all of our databases, all of our products, everything is different. So we're all going to have very, very different strategies. Whereas if you go and read up on the web, you can say, this is the Facebook strategy if you're this, if you're that, if you're, that kind of stuff. So it can be a little bit more formalized with other channels, maybe. SEO. So I used to be an SEO consultant, expert back in 14. 28. Things have changed a little bit, but still the basic principles are there. And so I was able to pick up really quickly. I'm not saying I'm at the, amazing level or that, but they still fundamentally work, even though like Alta Vista is no longer in existence. I Googled the big one now, right? That didn't exist back then. So, there's, I think that's what it is email. I don't know. There's just too many variables. Just so many variables.
Yeah, it's a good summary. And I may agree with you about the no owner equals no one imposing structure and rules of the game.
Which is why we want to do it. We are so self-imposing, aren't we? With yes. And like yesterday, I'm looking at a forum and someone said, I want to get, my CEO wants me to increase frequency, right? We're already sending X amount per week and everything. And I want to prove to him that it's a bad decision to do.
Yeah.
And then when I went to her and I sort of just spilled it out and I said, listen, and she was talking about, should I just do a report on some subscribes? So I went into the whole thing about, when you're just looking at increasing frequency and only measuring campaign, activity, yes, you're going to find out the results are worse because that's how email is. If you increase it, people are still only going to open 1 in every 4 emails. Right. It just means they're going to be opening 1 in 4 emails more regularly, right? More frequently than they would if you have less. And so they're still going to be unsubscribing and everything, but because you're doing it more often, you're actually heightening that up. But then you need to get the value of an email address and start applying that, right? Benchmark that. Then when you're going to do that, you'll have a control of the current sends, you'll have your test of the new frequency, and then leave it running for a while. Ladies have campaigns and all the rest of it. And, and then look at the value of the email address, look at the revenue, look at the metrics. You will look at the unsubscribe rate, but also use open reach, click rate, all that kind of stuff. You have to start really thinking about it. Everyone just gravitates to what is kind of obvious without sitting down and taking time for what looks to be obvious.
What looks to be obvious.
And really delving into it, having all everything impacts. And I get so caught up in this topic, I can't remember why we started. Why was I telling you this?
Well, it was about what, why is I ask you why email is hard. And you just touched on a bunch of reasons.
Yes. And often that is the case. Often it is the obvious thing. So, okay, another example, right? Testing open rates. That's your success metric, is you're going to be using an open rate because you're testing a subject line.
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone goes, well, subject lines impact open rates. They will be testing that. But I can tell you, I've done this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Plus also there's this other little lovely task I send everyone to go and do. And it shows you and proves to you that actually if you're going to be testing an open a subject line and you're using the open metric to be designating whether it's success or not, you're probably optimizing for the wrong result. Because, so this is the little litmus test that you do, right? Go and get the top 10 campaigns with high opens, top 10 with click rates, top 10 based on conversion.
Yeah.
Now go and see what's the crossover.
Right. And the best open, not necessarily the best result, right?
Yeah. So that's why, right? But it's obvious when you think about it, it's logical for you to be using the open rate, but logic isn't necessarily applicable.
Yeah. Plus minus that new variable that you mentioned already, Apple and MPP, making hash of that particular measure. It's still possible, but delve down just one more level there. I'll throw out a thesis for you to kick around on. what I see in conversation, not necessarily in practice, because I'm not at their desk, but it feels to me, and this is email marketing and probably other marketing disciplines, MarTech in general, that people they frequently end up sort of with the myopia imprisonment of the tool set they're using. The ESP tells me this, so this is what I'll act on. Is it the right set of measures? Is it an adequate set of measures? Is it actually connected to everything else in your business? No, no, no. But it kind of becomes, God, that's all I've got to work with, and that's where I spend all day. So that's what I make decisions on. Yeah.
You know what? And yes, this is so true. And a lot of what you said was actually legacy, and it used to happen, but it doesn't happen as much now. It still does happen, certainly with the smaller companies who will just say, yeah, they're just using, the MailChimp and Active Campaign, but they haven't got it actually synced to any
Yeah.
database.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just standalones, and they don't always record, maybe they don't even have it connected to Google Analytics. They don't have the conversions even. They're just looking at the open rate, the click rate. And that's very much how it used to be. It's less like that now.
Good.
But when we go back to how it used to be, and a lot of email marketing is based on how it used to be. How it used to be is that the ESPs, like you can't go and get a marketing degree, an email marketing degree,
Right.
right? There's no such thing as that. I used to teach the digital marketing degree, the email marketing portion of it. So it does live in that as a little nod, right? But you can't go and do that. So there's nothing that's incredibly comprehensive, which
Yeah.
is what
Yeah.
I'm going to do, that can give you that. Therefore, we are left learning from either trainers like myself or articles on the web, or most likely your ESP.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're trained by them. Now, and kudos to the ESPs. So, they just went, well, we've got a great system. We want them to use it. We need to train them to use it. And that's what they're doing. They're training you to use their system
Right.
and the marketing elements within that's necessary to be able to use their system.
Yeah.
They're not teaching you marketing. They're
Yeah.
not really teaching you email marketing at all, because they're not necessarily email marketers. They're technology providers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where a lot of the, so-called practices and everything are coming. And therefore they are also very, very technology led rather than marketing led. And when you think about how we as email marketers got into email marketing, we all somehow fumbled our way here. It kind of like, we landed here by accident. You woke up one day and said, I want to be an email marketer, right? Well, some of the new younger ones might, but certainly not me. And so you kind of don't therefore have that training. Like if you go in, and I do saw this term anecdotally survey, my students and my clients and in presentations, their audiences. And you go and ask them, how did they get it? Yes, they got in there accidentally. Who out of you is actually got a marketing degree? And we're talking probably maybe 10%.
Yeah.
Okay. So therefore, the majority of email marketers are not email marketers, as in they're not marketers. They're email technologists or email campaign managers. And I'm not saying this to deride them or to reduce them to anything. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But and I've written quite a lot of articles on this too. It's bring marketing back to email marketing. And that's what I've been on a mission to actually help as much as possible to teach that strategy side of things, so that they understand how everything all fits in, that you haven't got little individual campaigns that don't connect to anything. And then you put in your customer on this disconnected journey. You actually, everything is tied. Everything is there for a purpose. It's all there to deliver and enhance, customer experience to your audience and to help them to achieve their objective. That's what. Whereas most of us are just saying, oh, I read somewhere I should have this program. Okay.
Yeah. 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 And it's funny. I agree with all of the stuff that you just sort of summarized about the field. As a technologist myself, a developer and so on, I'm frequently kind of scratching my head about how relatively non-technically skilled the people in that complex job of email marketing tend to be, because prisoner of the tools again, because the ESP hides a lot of what's going on, or doesn't let you put your hands and fingers on it and do it, or you don't have time, which is probably the case right there. But I get people going, that's too technical. I'm like, oh my God, right? How do you get your job done? If you think that's technical, you got, nothing. So they're caught in between. It feels like a perpetually immature field in a funny way.
It's so advanced in so many ways. It really, really is. And let's give it kudos to the innate nature of email.
Yeah.
It's the first channel. Okay. So that's incredibly powerful. And we should understand that we should be using it differently to how many of us
Yeah.
are using
Yeah.
to even acknowledge that. Okay. So that is a bit of an issue. I do. And yeah, we just need to understand that email is an incredibly valuable channel that needs to be, well, we need to do as best as we can to actually understand how to resonate best with our audience. And
Yeah.
isn't always able to be taught through a technology provider.
Yeah.
Okay. And like I said, I'm not writing out anyone. I think, technology providers do a great job.
Yeah.
They are advanced in so many ways, but then in so many other ways, it's like, I do talk publicly about the A/B testing tools
Yeah.
with USBs. They're
Yeah.
totally,
Yeah.
and not only are they inadequate, they actually misteach our, marketers
Yeah.
how to test.
Yeah.
So they're actually testing wrongly, and they are optimizing for the wrong results because of that tool has
Yeah.
not been
Yeah.
has not been thought out, has not been advanced enough, has not got the teaching and everything like that. It's so, in some ways it's almost dangerous, right? Because if they are optimizing for the wrong results based on their use of that tool. The other way, it's I can't tell you how many marketers I've spoken to who have been disillusioned from testing because they don't start with a hypothesis. There's no tool in email marketing that says, okay, so this is what you do. You have to start with this and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's literally doing a subject line, different wording. And then, one subject line is here and the other one is so similar that they don't get a statistically significant result. And then they go away and they go, there was no difference.
Right. Right.
I'm not going to keep testing because it doesn't work. And it's not that testing works, it's just that they're doing it wrong, but they don't realize that they're doing it wrong. And this is what bothers me a lot, which is why I spend a lot of my time talking about testing.
And educate and leading the thinking on it and educating people on it. I'd be curious to get your reaction to I just made this hypothesis up on the fly. If email cost more to execute, I wonder if we'd have some improvement in terms of, let's call it rigor, for lack of a better word. Because you could throw some some nice wet behind the ears 20-something-year-old in and go, run the email program. And they probably are going to contribute to the bottom line. Why? Just nature of the channel.
Yes. The push channel. Yes. I say that in my book. It's probably its own worst enemy. Because actual job, right? And again, you're not doing a good job because you haven't been taught how to do it, right?
Sure.
So that is definitely a problem, or one of the problems.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And therefore, like you're not going to be putting. You think about a TV channel. You think about paid ads.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want very high-paying executives working on those, and these guys know what they're doing and all the rest of it. And then if anyone's going to be coming up through the ranks, they're going to be trained. can be trained really well, and they probably have some kind of a, definitely a degree of some sort behind them in marketing or something like this. So yes, email is that still regarded as that cheap channel.
Yeah.
But one of the things I want to pull out here, and as a technologist, you probably realize this too. I find, so as a consultant, I find this all the time and it bothers me, not just for my business sake, but because of how businesses are. Businesses will always have time and money and budget for the technology, but they won't necessarily have it for the smarts to come with it.
Amen. Sis. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Right?
Drive me crazy.
It does, doesn't it? Because yes, you'll spend so much. I know so many. Look at it. So much money on the technology, but then it's actually ended up being used for some very basic things.
Yeah.
One, because it's complex to
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
but two, because the strategy isn't in place. And therefore, you're just achieving something that you could actually achieve with MailChimp in a very, very, very expensive, platform.
So it's by way of metaphor, it's a lot of people sort of driving to the playground in supercars, right? This thing will do all sorts of stuff. You spend a fortune on it, and you're going to the grocery store at 30 miles an hour.
Yes. And so,
Huh.
and then they spend, if they're going to spend time being trained, they'll spend time being trained on the system,
Yeah.
being trained on strategy. Not being trained
Right.
on,
Yeah. 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 The actual thinking, organizational structure, planning work that goes into being effective with the tool set that you've got at your fingertips.
and then even when it comes to RFPs, we do our RFPs, and the first thing we do before we start to commit to the RFPs, we say we have to do an audit and a strategy.
Yeah. I knew about your audit practice. Yeah.
If you don't already have a strategy in place, then that's what we need to do, because we need to know where we want to go
Yeah.
before we start.
Yeah.
For the system to
Yeah.
take us there.
Yeah.
But there are so many people who will just do that RFP, just get us a new system, and then we're going to let the system determine what our strategy is. It's the wrong way of doing it.
Right. No, agreed. Yeah, agreed. It's and us my CIO friend used to call us the nasty vendors. Us nasty vendors are guilty of contributing to that because we'll oversell what our particular widget does.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. But I always have that, whenever I'm doing it with a client, I always say, listen, we are not meeting with a vendor unless there's your future account manager is going to be there, because
Mm,
they hold the sales guy accountable.
yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're going to have to deliver it, and they'll have an unhappy client or they'll have a happy.
Yeah.
So again, it's little things like that. And that's just, from experience in the, experience anyway. That will tell you that they don't, not just to email marketing, is it?
No, it's not just email marketing, right? It's any practice broadly speaking. I've noticed something in the past, call it 4 to 6 months, that intrigues me. I see businesses executing extremely well with the email marketing piece of their relationship with me. I'm saying that as carefully as I can. And it's not necessarily done with super expensive, high-end, fancy tool set. They're clear about strategy, and they kind of stick to the knitting, if you will, of the business that they're in and the relationship, the relationship that fits that business in terms of what I buy from them, transact with them, whatever else. And it impresses me when I see that. Like, dang, you guys are doing a really good job, and I know you're banging this out with Klaviyo, MailChimp, whatever, fill in the blanks. What's Chris Merritt's phrase? Cheap and cheerful systems, but it's working because they're very clear about the long term what we're going to do together relationship.
Yes. And that's it. You summed that up really, really well, as far as I'm concerned. We throw, a lot of businesses throw money at it with the technology, hoping, fingers crossed, that, it's going to work, but without actually a plan of action.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
can do a lot more. Even if you have to do workarounds, you can do a lot more with cheaper technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just being very strategic with it.
Yeah. 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 Begin with the end in mind, know what you actually want to do. Yeah. And then probably difficult, if rare, difficult, and nearly impossible to pick the system to execute the strategy, even though that's the way it should work, right?
Well, yeah. Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. So I don't get to own your whole day, even though it'd be fun. What's on the horizon, you think, for this field? What's the future of email, Kath Pay?
The future of email is we're not going anywhere, that's for sure. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Technology. We owned personalization. We were the first ones really to be owning personalization, although we had the capability and everything, thanks tech. But we still are doing it as well as we could, and as well as we should, as far as the consumers are concerned, right? So there's still room for improvement, and personalization is not going anywhere. And it still is, I regard, to be an art. So, that's there. But once we start to get, the AIs coming into most of the platforms, and that is happening on a regular basis,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, every now and then, every couple of weeks, you get a new SEO where we've made it easier for you to do this. So that is exciting. But still, you need to be a strategic marketer guiding it. But I think we're just going. I don't know that there's going to be anything amazing. I mean, privacy is still a really, really big thing, and
Big deal. Yeah. Big deal.
lots more going to happen in that, right? We've got keys or and everything. But we just have to stay smart. We have to adapt, same as we've adapted. And I think that we adapted quite easily to the MPP, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone at first was looking, going, the sky is falling down, right? But now we're still, we're
Yeah.
still,
No big deal. Yeah.
oh, it's still happening.
Yeah.
And we might be using workarounds, or we're using different metrics, which are probably more reliable than we ever made any. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to those kind of things. Well, I'm not necessarily looking forward to the privacy, the additional privacy, because that always are a bit of a challenge. Okay. But um definitely looking forward to the personalization, automation. It is, I can remember for years and years and years, every year, everyone was saying automation's going to, next year will be the year for automation. Next year will be the year for automation. Right? We kept on doing it because it got a little pick up, welcome emails, or welcome program even. And then, cut abandonment, great. So, most people have those in place, but I can really see that there's a huge momentum happening for automating as much as possible, because you've got the, lovely primary messages, great offers, all personalized. You don't even need to use AI for this, and you still get that really, really personalized effect. If, they're thinking of being online. So that, and then, when you look at the metrics from them, they're phenomenal. And that's because they are so relevant. So automation is still on its way up. Not there. It hasn't peaked yet. Not at all. But I can see a good momentum.
Interesting.
Yeah. And once you start doing that, then that's adding even more value to the email channel, which is going to make then the consumers even more reliant upon it. And therefore, it's all good for email.
Yeah. I had a couple of gents from Yahoo Mail, the top guys from Yahoo Mail, on for a conversation a couple of weeks back, and they said what they learned, because they relaunched the Yahoo email client on roughly its 25th anniversary, which I thought was kind of cool. But they said what our our customers told us, that email's where they manage the business of life, which I thought was nicely phrased and felt relatively accurate to me. And as we start putting more and better guardrails, call it privacy, around what do I control about myself and what do I not control about myself, email actually feels like a much more, I stay in control of my stuff world
Yes.
than fill in the blanks social media channel or messaging channel or something else. Like, I can still tell you to take me off the list and unsubscribe and bozo filter you. And I still feel like I may not get to all of it. I may not be in inbox zero ever, but I still feel like the controls are there for me to drive and it's not someone else poking, prodding, shaping it, structuring it.
Yeah. And the fact that it isn't owned by any
Yes.
particular,
Agreed.
yeah, well, we've kind of done a full loop now, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. I do worry a bit as we do the inevitable fumbling experimentation of a new enabler, AI in this case. We're gonna see some crap. We're gonna see some really dumb stuff for a while. We're gonna see pseudo personalization that makes you want to stick your finger down your throat because it's harder than it looks. But I can't make an omelet without breaking eggs, I guess.
No, but it's all this whole yeah, AI is just a big learning curve. I mean, already people is onto articles that look like they've been written and they haven't been. They're not citing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, all of that. That's already right. And yes, there's gonna be it's a learning curve.
Yeah. I
Okay.
strategy will be even more important. So everyone's going to end up buying the second edition of your book, I predict. Well, Kath, I knew it would be awesome. This is like a master class for email marketers that really want to be at the top of their game. I think people are going to enjoy this conversation.
Good. Well, I've enjoyed it. I always enjoy speaking with you.
Cool. Well, we're going to call it good. Where does someone find Kath Pay out in the world?
Okay. You can find me on LinkedIn mainly, Twitter, of course, at holisticemailmarketing.com. And I'm Kath at Holistic Email Marketing. No, Holistic Email.com.
And if you go to your favorite bookstore, whether online or not, look for the book Holistic Email by Kath Pay.
Yeah, indeed.
We're out.
Thank you.